What's poppin', y'all? We back with another episode of the Squid Games Aftermath podcast. I am your host, DeAndre, aka Player 288, and today I got the utmost privilege to have a very, very special guest, one of our very few laddies in the Squid Game universe, Mr. Eric Roberts, Player 218. What's poppin'?
215. That's a bad start,
215.
DeAndre. That's a bad start. What's popping, y'all?
215, man. 215. 8 and 5 makes
What's
my head up.
Thanks for having me on. What's the crack, buddy?
Hey, the crack is, we just out here chilling, doing our thing, man. We ready to get you, see what's going on in your head, man. That's what the crack is.
It's been a wild ride. I think like most, the PTSD has just wafted over my body again after watching it back. It's brought the whole experience right back, episode by episode. So it's been a positive and negative experience. I think having to relive it all, but I suppose getting to watch it all back has been fun too.
Yeah, no, definitely there's ups and downs and pluses and minuses, but hey, you just got to take it with what it is and kind of just, accept it. I mean, that's just how it goes.
I mean, I'm glad of how I conducted myself in there. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to watch it back and remember that I put my fist through a wall or something crazy like that. So that's good. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, it's okay. You can watch it back and have to maybe watch it a few times, because I know, you're looking for somebody. All jokes. So first is we're gonna get right into it, man. Why did you apply for Squid Games the challenge?
I suppose I had two reasons. I'm quite competitive, and I like the idea of taking part in something like this. At the time, I had no idea of the scale it was going to be on. I didn't know it was going to be the biggest reality TV show of all time, and I suppose as well there was the selfish aspect of I had been, I suppose, a content creator here in Ireland for about a year or so. And being on Netflix is going to elevate that. So there was that aspect of it as well. I wanted to, I suppose, further my own platform, and if I could win millions while doing so, that would have been an added bonus.
Have you seen any effects of anything so far?
I mean, I don't think my camera time has meant I'm gonna grow much in my following, but with the following I already have, they've enjoyed the whole process, and I've really enjoyed. I've had a lot of press. I mean, being from Ireland, it was a very American heavy show, so as one of the only Irish contestants, I suppose it was big news here, which is great, and I've been doing my best to milk that for all it's worth. So it's been a busy couple of weeks, thank God.
Hey man, well I enjoy all the content, man. I love watching it. It gives joy to my face and brings my spirit up when I see all this stuff. So keep on doing it, man, please.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
So we gonna when we get out there, you pack your bags. You don't have to go too far, maybe like an hour, 2 hour flight. That's all you got to do. And we get in the tents and we see that the game's gonna be red light, green light. And you walk into the arena for the first time. What's going through your head?
So I don't think any of us, even at that point, knew the scale of what we were walking into. I think we were all excited to be there, and we had all been flown over, which was great. But I don't think anyone knew how big this operation was. And when we walked in and the doors opened and we saw the huge room, I think personally I just thought, wow, like this is. I'm here now. I'm in this. This is really happening. And my only thought that day was get through this game. I think everyone was in the same boat where nobody wanted to go home on day one, especially those who traveled a lot further than I did. So for me, it was just about getting over the line, getting past the first game, because I think it would have been just horrifically embarrassing to tell my family and friends, listen, I'm going to be away for a few weeks. You won't hear from me. And then 2 days later, arriving home. So it was that just fear of embarrassment that I think that got me over the line that day. And thankfully, I was one of the first to cross. So I was glad to get over the line.
Yeah, you was quick with there, man. You was doing the Irish two-step up in there. I was like, man, moves on the dance floor and the red light, green light flow. Shoot. So I was like, so when you get in there and you do the track practice round, tell me, you finish, but what's your strategy going on?
So I went full bouncer pose. Like just I stood legs about shoulder width apart, hands in the pockets, and I was basically just that was my game plan. I was looking around the entire time, and people were dropping to the floor, and I was kind of whispering to people, "How does that feel? Is that good?" Because we were all in pain. My legs were seizing up after about 2 hours, and it was more of a waddle than a run, and it was the intensity that was thrown on top of that. So it was easily one of the most physically horrific things I've ever put myself through. But it was just that constant thing in your mind: don't move, get over the line, don't move, get over the line. That's all I thought about for hours. And also, do not wet your pants. on Netflix. That was another thing that was running through my mind, and thankfully I did both.
Hey, thankfully it didn't happen, man, or else, it would have made for good TV, but, unfortunately we didn't get to see that, sadly. But congratulations. Yes, player 215 makes it past the first game. No sweat off his back. He doesn't have to take the walk of shame home to his friends and family. So we keep on moving. And eventually we get into the dorms. And so when you first get in the dorms, what's going on in your head? Like, what are you thinking?
To be honest, early on in the dorms, I found that quite enjoyable. I mean, it was very surreal walking into a room with bunk beds stacked five high, 200 people, and for days we had to just go around introducing. Like all we had was conversation, so we were kind of forced into that. And I know we were there for a while before anything kind of exciting happened. It didn't seem like that watching it back, but we were all there for a good chunk of time. And I suppose it was just spreading yourself around. I mean, as I said, at that point, it was still a nice buzz. Everyone got through the first game and we made it to the show. So I think everyone's moods was quite elevated. Then once the elimination started and the game started, it gradually got worse. But then them first few days, I found the whole thing to be quite enjoyable. It was just meeting people from different walks of life. Me and you became bunk buddies. I met people from America, Australia, Asia, all over the globe, and people you probably wouldn't speak to in your everyday life, but really interesting people that I'm delighted that I've met, and I'm still in contact with most of them today. So
Yeah, no, definitely. You were one of the most interesting people, if not the most interesting I met, because I remember, I don't know where we first met, but I remember when we got in the dorms, then, like, oh, we sleeping next to each other? Yeah, yeah, we doing that. And then, we got to the bunk over there. And, I can tell, you was a bright laddie and had a lot of quirk and positivity going on and some jokes that, I understand this. I get your sense of humor, and some people might not, because you be joking 24/7. Like,
yeah,
it
it's
don't
all I
really
do.
turn off.
It's all I do. I don't. It hinders me sometimes. I think I was having a conversation with someone earlier on. They were saying why I think I maybe didn't get a lot of screen time. I think I was just walking around joking the whole time I was there, and that's not really how they wanted to portray the show. It's more doom and gloom and alliances and backstabbing, whereas I was just walking around making an arsehole of myself the entire time. So I think it's my own fault they didn't show me.
I wish they could have shown a few jokes. I think they were good. I mean, I remember one time we had a conversation where I was like, "Can you tell me all like the riddles that you can think?" You went through like 50 riddles or something like that. I was like, "Dang, this
Oh
man
my
really got
god,
me entertained."
I don't know how we got through so many hours just talking absolute rubbish. Yeah, but I think I used every joke I had on you in there.
Hey, well, I appreciate those jokes, man. They definitely gave me a good insight on some things, and you made the time pass nicely as well. And
Exactly, that was
so,
the goal.
and so eventually we find out that player 200 goes home. What are you thinking when you first see this first twist in the game?
I mean, I was shocked, but it was a taste for what was to come. No one had any reason to eliminate anyone at this stage because we were all really just getting to know each other. Now, obviously, Muddy Player 200, he was making it his mission to spread himself about that room, and he was a bright light. I mean, I thought he was absolutely lovely, but any sort of standoutish behavior at all, people are going to have a reason to eliminate you, and that backfired on him badly. Probably one of the nicest guys in there was the first to go home, unfortunately. But yeah, it was definitely a taste for what was to come. And no, at this point, you realize you can't trust anyone. No one knew who did it, and it was amazing to be able to watch it back and see what actually happened. But it was a year later that we all found out who actually did it. Up until then, we didn't know, so you just didn't know who to trust. And as the show went on, that just got worse and worse.
Yeah, it definitely got worse and worse. And some people you thought was your partners were really not there for you. We'll get into that soon. But we go into the second game and we see the four lines and whatnot in the white room for the first time. So what are you thinking and what line do you get into?
So I was originally in line two. Now at this point, my sort of group, I suppose, was the three English ones: Sophie, Cece, and Molly. And that's who I had been eating with every day and stuff, and I suppose speaking with the most. And Molly, I think, was in line four at the time, and he waved us over. He was a very cool character and just gave us one of those. Come over to this line, and without hesitation, we all went over and we got into line four. Now I don't regret it looking back. I was in line two. I would have ended up getting circle or whatever, but I think because I got the most difficult shape in there, I feel like even more accomplished. I got through the most difficult shape, and I came second in red light, green light, and I was kind of playing the game as I was going, and I was knocking out the biggest tests. So I was really happy with that. But obviously, at the time, when I saw Spencer going in and he was tearing up and stuff before he went in, and it was horrific. And then obviously you had to go in prior to that, and you, my bunkmate, and I was kind of down the back, and I was saying, that's the Andre, that's my bunk buddy. Is the same thing going to happen to him? And you were all racing, and you put your fist through the wall, and it was one of the most dramatic exits. But at the time, when you're living that and when you're seeing that firsthand, it was just as dramatic as it was to watch it back on Netflix, because you were obviously on the big screen, and we could see what was happening. But it was a brutal way to go, and again, that was signs of what's to come, because the game just got more and more brutal as it went on.
Yeah, definitely did. A sad way, sad things to come. But yes, it's sad, but then good because you get in there, you unfortunately get the worst shape, which it is what it is, and you get in there and you start working on your umbrella. So tell me how you get into this umbrella because you one of few to be able to tell the tale.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was only four of us that actually got past it, but I mean, we had the disadvantage of the most difficult shape, but we also had the disadvantage of going last. So you know yourself how long the filming days were, where you're sitting there all day waiting for your turn. We waited 8 hours before we even got our cookies. So circles got to go first, then triangles, then stars, and then umbrellas were last. So all day we were having this mental conversation with ourselves of, we're probably going to go home. We have to make peace with the fact that we've got the hardest shape. Not many are going to get through it. And we were set into our quadrants then when we eventually did get to go. And there was around 10 or 12 in each quadrant. The first 12 people went, nobody did it. Everyone died. The next 12 people went, nobody did it. Everyone died. And it was just, I was thinking, this is it. I haven't got a chance. And then when the third quadrant went, what they did was they were spitting all over the cookie, and this was like a new technique basically, and it seemed to be working for a couple of them. Some people got close. I know Teo got through, Roland ended up getting through, and then Adrian got through, and I just tried the same thing. I spat in this thing like it owed me money. Do you know what I mean? I was just going to town on it and managed to get the shape out, but unfortunately Sophie, Cece, and Molly all got eliminated. And then what happened was you had to go back in and make new friends and new alliances, and it all started all over again. So it was constant physical and emotional battle start to finish.
Yeah, you had to. I mean, all your friends was in line four. Being near everybody you was semi close with, and then it was like starting a whole new game, Aladdin settings. So
Yeah, I mean, I walked back in and realized my bunkmate's gone, the people I eat with's gone. Like, it's basically all the people that I had spoken to collectively were gone, and then I have to have the conversation with myself. Then I have to do this all over again. I have to go and reintroduce myself, and maybe people will think I'm being fake now if I'm going to try and join a new group. So it was a constant mind game in there.
yeah, that's tough, and that's annoying. I have to do that whole spiel again, but
Do
you made
you
it
do you
through.
think do you think you would have got the umbrella if you had a chance to do it?
I think I could have done it. I was confident in my abilities to do it, but the thing is, everyone in line pressured me like crazy to not do it. Because in my head, if I didn't talk to nobody, I was gonna pick it like not regardless. But if there was 5 seconds left, I would have ran to it and took that. But
I
everyone
think
kind
I
of
think looking back on it now, you regret not just taking the umbrella. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say, look, what had happened, I stand on the decision. But yes, if I had a chance to do it again, and if I knew I was, nobody else was gonna take it because I was banking on someone else caving, yes, I would have took it. Because all I
Yeah.
needed was just a little bit of confidence. All I needed was, you can do it. You got this. That's all I
Yeah,
needed.
but the thing
All
is,
I needed.
everyone in that line was out for themselves from day one to the end day. So just nobody cared what happened to you really. Everyone just didn't want the umbrella.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. I mean, yeah, basically what you said. Sad.
Uh,
But maybe I'll try and order one and see how it goes myself. I'm pretty confident myself, but we'll see.
yeah,
But we
I think you
move.
could do it.
Yeah, no, I think so. But we move back to the dorms, and then we see this telephone pop up. Are you thinking about getting this telephone?
So early on, when I saw the likes of Muddy getting eliminated, and I saw everyone hating on Brighton, and if you were the loudest in the room, or if you were putting yourself forward for things, or if you were in any way more noticeable than someone else, you were gone. So I made the decision very early on. Eric, keep your head down, stay out of trouble, don't nominate yourself for chores, be a familiar face, be a friendly face, but don't be too memorable. And that's the way you get killed. So when that phone came in, I don't care if it was my mother on the other end of the line, I'm staying away from it.
Well, smart choice. Your mother didn't decide to give you a phone call because, yes, eventually 198 is up out of here like a UPS package, Amazon Prime settings, the whole nine. He's up out of here. And we move on to the third game. We get in there, getting one of eight lines. I honestly didn't remember seeing you too much. So can you remind me which line you got into?
So this wasn't too tactical, to be honest. When we walked in, myself and the likes of Jordan and Ed and Adrian, we all just went to the top line. We were lingering up there, no real decisive decisions because we were just kind of chilled out from that point on. What will be will be. So I think everyone at this point assumed it was going to be tug of war. So myself and Jordan and Ed and Chad and stuff, we're all well built lads, so we weren't really too concerned if we all stuck together what line we were in because it was the four of us put together. We were going to be quite strong. And at that point, we were full sure it was going to be tug of war. So we were in line one and we were drawn against, I think it was line three when the names were pulled out. And at that point, we were like, okay, we've got this.
Yep.
I think that they didn't have too many big lads and stuff. And when we were brought in then and we saw that it was warships, everyone's heart sank. We had no clue what was going on. And obviously, our captains sort of chose themselves. I listen. I wasn't too fussed. I never really played it much. I had a life when I was a child and I played outside and stuff. So warships wasn't really my go-to. So when they nominated themselves, I was like, yeah, go on, knock yourself out. If I had have known how little a game plan they had, I might have had something to say because bless them, they tried, but they had absolutely no strategic outlook on the game whatsoever. They were just randomly picking things, and the opposing team, I think it was Chad that was captain, had a really really good strategy where they were going inside corner, inside corner, inside corner. I think they were going like B and C, and it looked strategic essentially. So myself and Chad and Jordan were in a three-man boat, and we were in corner four. So if they had have stuck to their original game plan of going corner, 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 we were going to be the fourth boat to go. But what they did was when they got to the third corner, Brighton started shouting and giving out to Jesse, who was our captain, and he wasn't happy with how things were going. And the opposing team actually heard him giving out and then started to aim for where his boat was. So his big mouth ended up getting him in more trouble than he wanted, I think. But it saved us, so we were absolutely delighted.
Yeah. No, you guys team lost the battleship war, but you did not. You lost the fight, but you didn't lose the war, essentially. And yeah, you lose two boats and the captains, but hey, you on the boat, you chilling. They didn't go with the strategy that you know. I guess they should have went. Look, I talked to Jessie already. She explained things. She has a different perspective on things, but look, that is what it is.
It
She
is
had a
what it
strategy
is.
of her own. She had her own strategy, and not a lot of people followed it, but or liked it and agreed with it, and her team lost. But it is what it is. All that matters is that 215 is still in the game, and you just got to sit back, chill, kick your feet up, get a cold beverage, and move on to the next rounds. And so when we get back to the dorms, they say there's two tests before the next game. And so the first test is voting someone out in a long line. Tell me how you feel about this.
So this one was tough, obviously, because we could see who we were voting for on the screen. Now, immediately, I think everyone realizes that the first couple of people that are going to be voted for, they're the people that are going to be going home. No one wants to annoy anyone else. So at this, I don't think early on we knew that we'd be able to see who we were voting for. So it was again tense. Anyone needed any reason to eliminate you, and I think at the time, the doc started suggesting things like, "I think we should collectively play a game, and then whoever loses be eliminated." And immediately you could tell everyone was like, "Oh, I'm gonna choose him." Like, I think in that time, being the loudest in the room is the worst thing you can do. So I literally went mute. I was just letting everyone else talk, and I didn't want anyone to be looking at me at that time. So I didn't care. Honestly, I didn't care who was nominated first. I was going to vote for them. I was just going to follow the crowd. As long as my face wasn't up there, I didn't care who went. I mean, it was still early in the game. Yes, I had my friends, but I mean, I wasn't hugely close to anyone, so I wasn't really fussed who was going. And I wasn't surprised at the people that went either. I think one of the guys had mentioned that he was missing home, and that was reason enough to be on the board. And then obviously, Lorenzo fell out with Leanne. That he was on the board, she was on the board. So there was no real maliciousness to it. I don't think anyone was really out to get anyone else. People just needed any excuse, and you were gone.
Yeah, Dr. V, Lorenzo, and Andy were sadly sent packing. Who did you vote for?
I think I voted for Dr. Lee just because of the suggestions that he was coming out prior, and he was constantly a voice in there, and just that's not what people wanted. Do you know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
trying to dictate how certain things were done and stuff, and yeah, it was just too much for me.
Too much for you, man. And you like, look, I'm gonna sit back and put my feet up again and just click some
Exactly.
button on the remote and get my cold beverage back out and take a sip. And so you do that, and then it's time for the second test eventually. And there's 6 boxes on stage. They need 5 people to go up. Um, out of the 6 people, the 5 people that go up is 130 Jacobin, 229 Felicia, 79 Kyle, 375 Joel, and 183 Jesse. One, are you thinking about going up there and picking a box? And two, are you worried about any of the people that did pick a box picking you?
Again, game plan was to stay out of trouble, so I wasn't going near it. Now, in hindsight, looking back, if you wanted that TV time, putting yourself forward for these things was the way to go. So maybe being a bit braver might have meant more airtime, but I wasn't thinking about that then. I was just thinking about the money and thinking about getting to the final. So I wanted to stay well away. The people that had gone up, I had definitely spoken to them all. I was confident that I hadn't done anything that they might think was untoward or a bit sneaky. I was just walking around being everyone's friend, you know what I mean? So I think I was a familiar enough face that they wouldn't want to eliminate me, but also I wasn't conniving or I wasn't backstabbing anyone. So again, there's always a little bit of worry, but I was confident that they weren't going to be picking me. But at the same time, some of them were opening boxes that said eliminate 3 people. Now I wasn't sure if they had enough reason to eliminate 3 people, so maybe they were going to pick someone at random. But it was funny because what happened there was in that game, people started to realize that people are being sneaky in here. Why are they eliminating Steven and Dr. Rick, and why are they eliminating people with advantages in the game? Like that's like people are starting to play the game now. So that's when it kind of became real during that game.
Yeah, definitely got real and real sad for some folks. But it was real good for you, 215, because you was not on nobody's radar again. Your strategy is working like a charm, man. This money's it's coming too easy right now. It's
Yeah,
coming too
I'm getting it.
easy.
I'm getting it.
Getting it. All right. So now it is time. They eventually finish that and they bring out these picnic basket and picnic blankets. And they say, well, you guys got a prize because the people finished this chore peeling oranges, and congratulations. And so when you see these picnic baskets and blankets brought out, what is going on through your head?
So you're always slightly suspicious, but I mean, there was days that weren't shown where people won prizes. So it wasn't that strange to win a prize. There was a couple of days between filming and between games where people had won chocolate or won different buns or whatever else. So yes, it was suspicious because it was so many of us had won the prize, but not many people had suspected the marbles. There was some rumors and there was some whispers about it. But at the same time, we were all starving. We were all just happy to be getting something to eat. It was around 5 minutes into the picnics where people started to whisper all the marbles there, and we all searched and stuff. And it was my little sis Melissa that was on my blanket, and she was actually on someone else's initially, and she swapped. I think Chad was sitting beside me at first, and she swapped. She swapped in with Ed, and I kind of, in my heart of hearts, I knew I was gonna beat her no matter what the game was, but I was definitely gonna be sad that she was going home.
What? You so you didn't know the marbles was gonna be in there. You had no idea.
I had no idea, and I was just happy to be getting some crisps and some jellies and a couple of cakes. I think Melissa had found them first, and when she pulled them out, I was quite sad because I knew one of us was going home, but I was quietly confident going into the games because I mean I play a lot of throwing games here. I played darts back at home and played a lot of beer pong growing up and stuff. So I was confident if it was going to be a throwing game, I was pretty confident I was going through. If it was left up to chance, it could have been either of us. But Melissa was happy enough to play a throwing game, thankfully, and I think I won 5-0. So
Jesus, good lord, boy, give her a dang a little point. Dang, wasn't so.
no.
So we get into marbles, okay, and you say you win, but what exactly game did y'all threw marbles onto like a can or bucket or
So it
wall?
was, yeah, very very simplistic, very straightforward. We just decided to throw marbles into a bucket from however far away, 5 feet away, and it was a very very emotional game. So I'm part of me is glad they didn't show it because we were both just standing there crying. Do you know what I mean? I was very very close to Melissa. I thought she was a very bright light in there. She had so many inventive games and ways to get us through each day, and she was so bubbly start to finish. But during the marbles game, then it was tough because she was missing, and I kept landing shots, and she kind of realized quickly that this is the end for me. And I just kind of I asked her to finish out the game, and I told her to be brave and how well she did and stuff, and we embraced, and and that was it. And when everyone finished that game, even though we were further in the competition than we'd ever been, when we walked back into the dorms, the mood wasn't good because everyone's best friend had gone home basically. So no one was really celebrating. And when they dropped the money in, I think there's a clip of me turning around and I say show me the money because I was just happy to still be in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nah, definitely. I mean, you making it through, man. That's all that matters at this point because there's only 31 people left, and you can really. This is a big shift, from 60. The 60 is still kind of a lot of people, but 31 is not. So definitely, this is kind of where it's setting into a lot of people that dang, like we close. Like this is the time, to get your shine on. And so we have that, and then soon we have where they said everyone needs to select a captain. And everyone, almost everyone, you select TJ as the captain. Are you on board with this?
As long as it wasn't me, I didn't care who got it. Like again, for going off everything that had happened up until this point, I did not want to be in the limelight because these are the people that are at risk. So no one knew if the captain was going straight home. No one knew if he had to pick someone or what was going to be going on. So when they said TJ, it was a kind of an obvious choice because he was a voice in there every day. He was being motivational and trying to spur people on to kick every day right in the dick. So I mean, I was happy enough for him to be nominated and him to come under fire. Had I known what I know now, I might have been more inclined to nominate myself for one of my good buddies. But the mood was tense that day, and at the corner of my eye, I saw the ladies getting together and doing a bit of plotting and stuff. And to be honest, I see I kind of knew in my heart of hearts what was going on, but at the time I didn't say anything because we were all so scared about annoying anyone else or offending anyone else. If I had shouted across the room like, "Hey, what are y'all bitches doing over there?" Like they would have been, I would have been gone quicker anyway. So yeah, my fate was sealed from that point.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was sealed. You just see the ladies getting together. We don't know what's going on. Really, there hasn't been much teamwork that had to be involved in any game, to be honest. So, we don't know. But yes, you get that instinct, and your impulses are telling you right, but the social settings was telling you no. And so we soon find out that yes, TJ is safe for the next game, and he has you doing basically a pick 'em of who's going to be safe, and 11 people are left out. So this is where it gets real interesting. So yes, everyone start getting picked or whatnot, and the ladies have this little speech in the middle, like the girls got to stick together and whatnot. How are you feeling when you hear this little speech?
So I mean, I think you can see on the show, I'm just looking up to the sky and I'm going like this, and I mean, I was disgusted. Honestly, I wasn't happy at all because for two reasons. Okay, first reason, this alliance is total bullshit. It's not woman empowerment. They're looking out for themselves. They don't care about each other at the end of the day. They're only doing this to solidify their safety. Number two, I don't care if you're black, white, brown, fat, skinny, male, female. We were all in there as people competing for the same prize. So gender or anything else shouldn't have been brought into it. It shouldn't have been boys against girls. We were all the same competitors in there. And up until that point, I felt like I played a very good game and I deserved to be there. So to
Yeah.
be put out for that reason, it was tough. Now, if I was put out because all the people in the line were best friends and they were saving their friends, which is what the game was supposed to be, over the intercom it says, choose your friends carefully. So if TJ picked someone, it was because he was close to them, fine, and so on down the line. But this whole thing about I'm picking this person because they're a woman and blah blah blah, I felt like yeah, it was a tough exit when I'd come so far and I'd put myself through so much hell. To go out the way we went out was definitely it was a difficult pill to swallow. But now that I've had time to think about it and looking back, that was the game. The game was build alliances, do whatever you had to do to stay in, and that's what the girls did that day. So all credit to them.
So who do you think, if those speeches weren't said and these girls weren't gathering together, who were you close in there at that point that would have picked you?
So
Regardless
it's a
of if that stuff didn't happen.
yeah, it's a domino thing. Do you know what I mean? It just depends who's up there and who's before them. I know Elliot said that it was between me and Roland. He said he was very close. So maybe Roland might have been already up there, and then Elliot would have been picked, and I would have been his next choice. Or Jordan or Ed or any of those had been picked, I would have been guaranteed safety. So it depended who was picked and when they were picked. But yeah, I had a few people definitely in there that if they were in the line, I would have been guaranteed safety, and I would have been happy to see some of the rest of them go instead of me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I had Elliot on yesterday, and he gave me his little insight on that. And I mean, I'll tell you straight up, like, you can watch if you want, but, and I know you're busy, but he had Hallie he was close with. He would have picked early. He would had Roland in there, and he had 301, the son, Trey. I asked him about you. He felt really bad about you, but you weren't on like the highest of the high, like the top list. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
So
And it
definitely
would have,
stick with you.
and it would have been similar with him. Do you know what I mean? At that stage, we were kind of getting closer. But as I say, I would have picked Jordan before him, and I would have picked Ed before him. But he would have been on my list essentially. So
Yeah,
that it just depends on who would have been picked prior. So if Hallie and Roland and Trey had been in the line, and then Elliot was picked, and he had no one else to pick other than me, that I would have been guaranteed safety. So it just depended who was picked when. But yeah, no, it was tough. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way.
yeah, no, man, that's tough way to kind of go out and, like, you putting your trust in certain people, and hopefully those are the people that kind of like get in that spot. But ultimately, none of like the real tight ones, I don't think, were in that line. And
Yeah.
nobody kind of surprised you on who they picked or not picking you. Essentially, is that correct?
No, that's it. I mean, the only one was probably Mikey, and I think he's getting a bit of
Oh
flack
yeah,
online now
yeah,
from the
man.
he's getting a bit of flack from the Irish people now asking why he didn't save me. But I mean, realistically, if I was in that line, I probably wouldn't have saved Mikey either. We weren't really close in there.
Okay,
So
okay.
I totally respect his decision and who he picked. He was closer to Marina than anyone else. So I hold nothing against him. I mean, it would have been nice to be saved, but listen, that's the game.
Yeah, that's the game, man. Well, that's unfortunately where you make your exit. So tell me, when you get back home and you leave the area in London and whatnot, how are you feeling? What's going on in your head?
I mean, I couldn't speak for about 24 hours. I was in bits. Like, I know me and Jordan went into London that night and we got some steak and we had some beers, but it was just, I was distraught. You know what I mean? I was going home and I felt like I let myself down because I hadn't won the money, because I sort of convinced myself that I was going to do it at that point. It was a couple of days away from the final. So to have to go home and say to the family, I did well, but not well as I wanted to do and stuff. And but then after some time passed, I suppose I look back on it and I was happy that I did it and I was glad I did the experience. And I think I left with a new confidence as well. Like, speaking to so many people from different walks of life and hearing all the amazing things they were doing, I think I approached my own lifestyle a lot differently, and I was more outgoing, and I was saying yes to more opportunities that I mightn't have agreed to beforehand, and that's led to a really amazing year. I've done some incredible things, and I feel like I'm only at the start of my career now, whereas I feel like I've accomplished quite a bit this year, but I'm excited to see now where next year can take me. I'm disappointed because Netflix hasn't really brought as many opportunities as I thought it might, just because of the lack of airtime. But because I'm from Ireland, I've kind of been able to utilize as best I can, and it's not going to give me a massive leg up, but it's going to spur me on to, I suppose, keep chasing what I'm chasing.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. I definitely think you were probably the most deserved person that kind of got, clipped, I'd say, because I mean, everyone I talked to, they're shocked that, you didn't get, you weren't a prominent person, like I was shocked by it too. I'm like, what the hell going on in here? I mean, we got these
That's
other people.
showbiz, man. That's showbiz.
It's showbiz, man, and I work in showbiz, so I'm used to it. But definitely, I think you shine a light on everybody in there. You had one of the most positive attitudes, the most charismatic people to talk to, and kind of down to earth at the same time. And I could say that maybe about like three people in there with all those combined and whatnot. So I definitely appreciate meeting you in there. Appreciate being your friend and getting to know you on a real level first, and then after the game as well, keeping in contact. So I definitely have
100%,
high
man. I
respect for
appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah, I got high respect for you, high regards. You helped me a lot in getting my doing what I'm doing now too, a little bit more so. And that's kind of a big thing I take away. So I thank you very much for that, and I thank you for your kindness and jokes, and ultimately your friendship, because I definitely think you're a great dude, and I can't wait to get a pint with you when I come back to Ireland.
100%. We'll get a few creamy Guinness.
Oh, creamy Guinness. Okay, so I asked Elliot this. He said a Pilsner, or no, he said a Peroni is his favorite beer. What's your favorite beer?
A Peroni. Yeah, that's kind of like, it's a woman's drink, essentially, what he's drinking. I'm drinking, yeah. I'm drinking men's Guinness, men's pints of Guinness.
Okay, Elliot, step your game up now. What you doing? Come on. Let's see,
Yeah.
he was
He
he was
drinks
saying
that
that
with
like
he drinks that with his pinky up on an umbrella in it. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, of course. Now everything makes sense. Okay, now everything
Yeah.
makes sense. Well, cool, Eric. I appreciate you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It was an honor and privilege to get to talk to you and get inside your head about what was going on in the game. Definitely look forward to talking to you again off this, of course. And I can tell you why I think you got edited out. My personal opinion. But we gonna say that for off camera. Once again, peace and blessings, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Have a blessed.
Thanks very much.